Hello there. Good evening. It is Margaret from Boboleros, and welcome to another podcast. I think this is episode 11, and so welcome for being here. It's a podcast about knitting primarily, with some sprinklings of classical music, different inspiration from art and literature, poetry, and just plain old general drippings from the brain pan, whatever is intriguing in the moment. And so I just like to thank you for being here. And it's been quite a week. It's now Sunday, around 5, golden hour, taking it in. And like most podcasts about knitting have tea. I've got the wine out tonight. I'm not like a major drinker, but some days you need it, right? And tonight's one of those nights because I just finished playing a concert. I've got my Beethoven t-shirt on. Ludwig lives. I got this in Bonn, Germany many years ago when we went to visit relatives and saw Beethoven's birthplace. I have a little Beethoven I love to play for you tonight, and just cheers to you. It's good sometimes, right? Sometimes we just need a sippa, you know what I mean? We just sometimes need a sippa. So anyway, today we're going to talk about a couple of I have only one finished project to share with you. A continual whip that's been on my needles for 2 weeks, not because it's not fast and not because I couldn't get it done, but it's just there's been like a lot of stuff taking my attention these days, so I just haven't gotten to it. But there is a harrowing tale of risk and defying the odds, breaking all the rules, all the knitting rules that you've ever heard. I broke them this week out of an act of desperation. And so I'll share that story. It's regarding my sweater, the Gumdrop, and the snafu I hit, quite literally a snafu, and the way I managed to break every knitting rule and fix it. So I'm going to share that crazy tale with you and show you my completed object, what I'm working on. And first, oh yes, I wanted to tell you about the giveaway. So I am extending the giveaway, which is of this fantastic book by Rick Rubin called The Creative Way. It's a must read for, I would say, everybody, because we are all creative beings. We've talked about this so many times. It's a running theme in our podcast, right? About our creativity and how it really feeds us and how it's essential. I think, I found creativity essential getting through some of these like really crazy, rough times in life. I mean, thankfully we have our knitting. We could go to, some of us have other passions and crafts and hobbies. Music is my number one go-to, but it's so essential to tap into because it's a source of comfort, inspiration, joy, and it just simply switches ourselves from the left brain, right, into the right brain, right, where it's all happy. At least I think that's where the right brain is. Happy. I have a friend, Jill Bolte Taylor. She wrote a book, and it was a very, very famous book called My Stroke of Insight, and she's a Harvard-trained neuroscientist. And actually in the book, and she's got one of the most famous TED Talks ever. I'll try to link it below. And so we were talking one time, and she said that she was so euphoric when she had her stroke. And as a trained neuroscientist, she was able to actually see herself having the stroke, and on one level being able to tell what's going on with her and observing it at the same time as a scientist and also as the victim of a stroke. And what happened was that her whole left side of the brain got hemorrhaged. And so she was quite literally living out of the right side of her brain. And she said that the euphoria she felt and the connection she had to certain things like vibration, like she had perfect pitch suddenly, and she was aware of colors in a different way. She was feeling and perceiving on such a level of pure ecstasy and joy. And so it just reminds me that when we are creative, when we are, like Maya is right now knitting also on the Gumdrop Sweater, and she tells me all the time about the euphoria she has when it takes it into her hands, and just those colors, the kaleidoscope of colors, that they just feed her soul. And she's like, this is better than anything. She's like, it's better than food, it's better than, like candy. I'm like, yeah, okay. But yeah. Anyway, I think so too. So we have a giveaway for the book, and also some fantastic sequin yarn. And I will be doing that giveaway next week. So we'll have 2 weeks. And so here's the question I like to pose in the comments today. Because having just played this music, I'm going to share with you a very well-known piece of music by Beethoven, his Moonlight Sonata. And it's very interesting because the name Moonlight was given to the piece by editors. So it wasn't Beethoven's original idea to name it the Moonlight Sonata, but for some reason it really just stuck. Stuck is the word. So you are probably familiar with it. It goes. Which could be very dreamy sounding, and you could almost picture a fantastic moonlit scene. So there is some research that says that Beethoven was possibly influenced by Mozart's opera Don Giovanni. And there's one scene where Don Giovanni kills the Commandore, and there's it's a grisly scene, and there's death. And so Mozart writes this. And so perhaps, since Beethoven had that in his manuscript while working on the Moonlight, perhaps it's less suggestive of a placid moonlight scene and more suggestive of something way more terse, dramatic. Because he took this idea and he brought it up a half step into C sharp minor, and now we have. So here's the question. What color do you feel, do you perceive when you hear this piece of music? I have one color that I see, that I hold in my vision, in my heart when I play this music. So as you listen to this piece, it's only maybe 3 minutes long. I ask you to hold that color in your mind. What color appears to you? What do you sense through this music vibrationally that could quite possibly present itself to you as a color? Perhaps it's as a different thing. Perhaps it's more as a texture or a feeling or a taste. So just as a kind of fun experiment into perceiving things using all of our senses. Okay, so here it is, the Moonlight Sonata, first movement. powerful piece of music, and it evokes different emotions and feelings. And so for me, it's funny, and I was dyeing up some yarn. We were doing an update this week, and by the way, I want to thank you for all that really supported that update. We were doing kits for the Shrug, the Sunday shrugs, and the turnout and response was so great. We sold out in 24 hours, so I thank you. And we are getting those kits together this week and dyeing up all the yarn, and so we look forward to sending that out to you very soon. So yes, coming to your home soon. But so while I was in the dye pots, I actually experimented, and I came up with a color that was not in the update, but just a one-off. But this reminds me of the Moonlight Sonata, and it's a hard color to describe. It's a kind of, I don't know, it's there is a gold to it, but it has more of a sort of acidic edge to it, and it reminds me of the Moonlight Sonata, the glow of the moon, but also just that terse, again, that almost rust colored anticipation of something that is ambiguous, that you don't know. Like we were saying, is this piece a hypnotic piece with images of the moonlight, or is there a deeper tragic story to it? But in any case, like, this is, to me, a color story that it resonates with this music. So I would love to know, what color resonates with you, perhaps in conjunction with this music, if that is something that you feel inspired to share, or that it hit you in a certain way in conjunction with the music. Please share in the comments below. It's just such a, it's a different kind of conversation, I know, but really fun. I think I love the intermingling of the visual with the musical arts, and also literary arts and poetry, and just a cross fertilization. It makes the experience so rich. So, okay, so that's that. And then next week we will draw a winner from the comments from last week and this week's episode. So, yes, let's talk about the finished object for this week. So, if you are following me on Instagram on Margaret Wasick, Margaret Wasick on Instagram, or Boboleros, but I have been doing a couple of lives this week on Margaret Wasick, and I was sharing some of the shrugs I had been knitting, because they were like, I was banging them out one after another. I couldn't stop. So this is the last one I knit since we saw each other last week, and this one is called Gelateria. Guess why? Yes, because I am a big gelato fan, and now I realize that these earrings kind of do go together in a interesting way. These are from Pittsburgh Mercantile. I wore these today for my concert with a black and white dress that I felt so comfortable in. Comfort is a big deal when you perform, and I got this dress off of the sale on Farm Rio. If I could find a picture, I'll put it here. But anyway, I love their things. I really do. They're so comfortable, and I seem to be gravitating towards Farm Rio for a lot of these kinds of performance style dresses. So, but I digress. This is Gelateria, and it is inspired by all things Italy, especially gelato. And I don't know, the color story with the camel, it just spoke to me of Italy. I don't know exactly why. Milan, House of Gucci, Camel is, I don't know, such a phenomenal neutral. I don't have quite a lot of camel in my wardrobe. I will tell you, camel is not a color that I necessarily am that attracted to because I don't feel that it's very flattering for me. But I really loved it in this combo. I paired it with the Boboleros Lime Alabaster Bubblegum. And I used the Sunday Shrug pattern by Jackie Rose, and I kind of did a different kind of sequence of colors and rows. So I decided to fill this one with sort of my own personal penchant for numbers and the meaning of different numbers. It's kind of an underlying theme in a lot of classical music, especially Bach. He puts a lot of number symbolism in his pieces, and once I started studying his music and realized that numbers are a big thing, that why not put that into a knit? So intrigued by the words of Nikola Tesla, who said, if you know the power of the numbers 3, 6, and 9, you have the keys to the universe. So that's a big claim, but I figured, why not experiment with 3, 6, and 9s in a shrug, right? Because hey, that's an easy way to kind of play with numbers. I was reading that Tesla actually was so devoted to these numbers that even he would have to walk around his apartment building 3 times before he entered it, and all sorts of ways that these numbers had a significance in his daily life. So what I did is I started with camel, and I did 9 rows, and then I did 3 rows of 3 colors, and then I went into a rhythm of 6 rows of each of 3 colors, and then again I repeated the 3 rows of 3 colors, and then I ended it with 12 in camel. So that's it, and this was one of the kits featured on the update, and I love wearing this, and I really am digging the way it's looking in this golden hour light. So it's just fun, and it's quite a classic because of the camel. I feel that it's grounding it. So that is that one. And just again, I'm knitting more shrugs because it's I'm still obsessed. It's been 2 weeks of me making nothing but shrugs, and I am not stopping anytime soon. So this is the shrug that started it all, my electric Beethoven one, which you have seen on the podcast, and neon lemon with swamp. Just terrific, experimenting with the color play of the electric versus earthy tones. And let me show you the one that is on my needles right now. And again, it's keeping with that theme of earthy and electric. So here is a color called Dark and Stormy, and it's got grays and deep purples, and I'm pairing it with a color called Alien, which is a punchier kind of lime, a deeper green in it. And this one I saw Jackie wearing at Vogue Knitting Live, a version she made with quite similar colors, and I was obsessed. And I decided to just play along. So there you go. They go so quickly. You're done in a day if you really just sit down to a couple good movies, and you're done. So I know many of you guys are knitting shrugs, and I would love to see pictures. I would love to know about your shrugs. So please do share, either just tagging me on Instagram or even here in the comments, letting me know what colors you guys are making. And we are still in winter, and spring is normally a little nippy out here. I plan on wearing these shrugs way into March, through March into April. I could guarantee you that. I run cold anyway. So that is a thing. And even today, I wore a shrug over my dress. And I did make a shrug in black, and this is like 10 years ago, before the Sunday shrug phenomenon. And I just love that, and I haven't worn it in a long time. And it's just really fun to bring out an oldie but goodie, because those things are timeless. They really do stand the test of time. So, okay, so onwards. So the other thing I had on my needles was, as you might remember, the Gumdrop Sweater. So did I make much progress? Well, do you remember last week I told you my tale of woe of how the Gumdrop Sweater, how I decided to go off pattern, and I made a bit of ribbing, and then I cast off, and then the problem was that I could barely get it over my shoulders because I bound off too tightly, although I did use a stretchy bind off. I think what happened, and I do this all the time, and thank you for your comments and suggestions, like using bigger needles or trying a different bind off, and I'm so grateful for that, because yes, I will be doing larger needles from now on in my bind off. That is so true. That is such a good point. And it's so obvious. Why do I forget that? I don't know. Margaret, hello. But another thing is that I think I just probably made it too narrow, because I did the ribbing and I changed needles, and now they're I don't even know, 10s, or it went down to 10s. And so in any case, I got too narrow. Long story short, how do you undo a bind off when you are working with boucle yarn? Okay, this is the big conundrum, because this is absolutely beautiful yarn. This is the Serendipity yarn by Knit Collage. It's absolutely a dream to work with. However, having been down that same rabbit hole of binding off too tightly in sweaters, done years ago, also in boucle and mohair pairings, I was not able to easily take apart that bind off. So same problem arose here. There is no way. Maybe if someone has the patience of a saint, you could do it, but not me. I'm not that person. So what did I do? I took my scissors out. That's right. I took my scissors out. And I decided to cut off my hem. That's right. You're not supposed to do that, Margaret. You're not supposed to cut your knit unless you're doing a steek. This was not a steek, my friends. This was a full-on, I'm going completely kamikaze crazy here. So I just went for it, and I snipped. The whole bind off came off. Talk about, I was in crazy monster mode. And so I will try to insert footage. The whole thing started to this popcorn started to come out. It was flaking off. This little popcorn pieces off my yarn, off the bind off, and I thought the whole thing was literally ruined. And so I started plucking off that popcorn, and okay, so it took me a long time to pluck off the popcorn, but you know what started to emerge? Okay, so after I had a pile of these scrap yarn pieces, the shards, the shreds of this, I then started to see that, wait a minute, I think I have some whole stitches there somewhere. So I finally was able to find a strand, which when I pulled on it, it started to unravel the sweater, and the popcorn, which was all that frayed stuff that I cut off, it started to dissipate. And so now I knew I was on dry land again, that I wasn't swimming in these precarious shark oceans of popcorn yarn flakes. And now I was in calm waters. And so what I did, I was able to put the needles back on, and now I'm keeping going. So I'm almost there. I don't know. I mean, Maya is like way ahead with hers now. And so we are making the same one. And she's already done a cropped length for hers. And she did a regular Jenny stretchy bind off. And she says that her hem rolls up a little bit. I think it looks really good with the style, but she wants me to try to iron it down. Now, I don't mind the hem curling up, but if any one of you know a way I could bind off easily without doing tubular, guys, I don't think I'm cut out for tubular bind offs. It's just anything aside from a tubular bind off that will give me a non-rolled up kind of hem, then just let me know if you could suggest something, because it needs to be stretchy, because this yarn, it is pretty stretchy actually. And now that I'm like wider here on the bottom, I don't think I have to worry about it as much as I did before. But in any case, a good bind off is a good bind off, and I'm really all about the finishing touches. So yeah, so I hope to finish this week, and I couldn't be more happy with this. So that's what's in the works. I'm also thinking about shrugs for warmer weather, like cotton. And so this week I am doing an experimental knit of a shrug in cotton to see, like what pans out with that. How will cotton behave in that sort of presentation with a rib? And I'll keep you posted. Also working with a couple new fibers that we just got in, which hopefully will be in the shop pretty soon, which is an alpaca. And that is going to, for the people that are wanting mohair for their fuzz factor, alpaca is an option. And so yeah, I'm excited to experiment with the Surrey alpaca and get that going and seeing like how that's going to work, especially with the cotton. So yes, so that's what is the experimentation of the week. I depending on if I'm not sure whether we'll do another update before my trip. I'm going away March 12th and we'll be gone for a week. So, but let me know because if there's any particular yarns from the last update that you need more of or intrigued of, or you missed out on a kit, I can't guarantee that I could get that yarn to you, but for sure DM me, and I'm happy to work with you if there's something that you would need. So that does it for this week. And yeah, so grateful for you. So grateful to just have some time together, and wishing you a fantastic week of wonderful makes and wonderful good energy, and just total overflow of joy and happiness, and just reflecting on the good things in life. Okay, so thanks for joining me. Have a good one. Bye.